time for another Elsie's Little Pickles, the pickle pod for the people, reminding you to continue your pickle protest by putting a pickle on a MAGA supporter's porch, taking a picture of it, and sending it to us here at Elsie's Little Pickles at gmail.com. With that,
Pickle Porch Pegging.
Pickle Porch Pegging. Happy belated May the 4th to both of you. And
Thank you. I
know
have
some
very recently been evangelized.
Yes, I know this has been a struggle. This has been a lifetime struggle between me and my son.
Hold on. Let me just clarify. I liked Star Wars when I was a kid and didn't understand it because cool laser swords, right?
Right.
And on top of that, I grew up with the prequels, which obviously, Phantom, it's important for the story, kind of a shit movie. Attack, it's important for the story, kind of a shit movie. I maintain Revenge of the Sith is the best Star Wars.
Okay. Well, you're going to
maintain that.
You'll get a little bit of resistance, and it's generational because I believe Return is the best. However,
definitely a close second.
However, I can see. I look at it the same way. I think that in the prequels and the originals, the first was amazing. So A New Hope was fucking amazing because we never seen anything like that. We didn't know that could be done on film. Like that blew away.
Yeah.
Like visually, everything that we had ever digested as film goers.
Maybe I'm just spoiled by having grown up with the prequels and now with Star Wars being
but I think even more than that, you're spoiled because of like the Marvel universe where they built upon all that technology in filmmaking. And
because New Hope, it's a good movie, it's a good story, and like I respect it in that sense, but it's just very visually plain to me, and I get it. Like it was the first one,
right? They had never done that shit before.
It was the first one, so like you kind of just had to. They were figuring it out as they went.
It's kind of like
I understand.
It's kind of like Einstein walking around going, "All right, I got this E thing."
And I have this MC thing,
but I can't quite finish this thing. You know what I mean? It's like, it's that chocolate and peanut butter combination that once you figure it out, even though it sounds disgusting at first glance, you go, "Oh shit, that's fucking amazing." Oh, and not to take this choo-choo off the tracks, but Reese's coming out with peanut butter and jelly Reese's cups. Fuck off. Keep it the way it is. You are disgusting. And yes, all those things should work together. But
their capitalist greed disgusts me.
Yeah, you're just trying to rail me in the ass with your fucking diabetic little puck of deliciousness.
For retrospective viewing, I should bring up, I should say, that Star Wars came out in what?
77. Yeah.
Other movies from 1977. Smokey and the Bandit. Close Encounters. Saturday Night Fever. The Spy Who Loved Me. Oh God. Annie Hall. So you're talking about a movie completely different from all of those. I mean, the closest is probably Close Encounters.
And you know what? Spielberg did a hell of a job with that, but he also was friends with Lucas at the time.
Yes.
So I'm willing to bet that Lucas, I'm sure in some form, even if it was just like telephone conversations, they were sharing secrets because they were really good friends at the time. So,
one thing I have to, two things that I have to just say for the audience. First of all, almost lifelong hater of Star Wars, and a friend of mine encouraged me to watch. So that's why I ended up, revisiting. He was like, just look at it objectively. You're in politics. Just watch it as a political drama, right? Just watch it as a political drama, and I guarantee you'll like it.
Well,
and
he's
right.
I'm not being dramatic with that bottle opening. It really is on that hard where you have to yank that cork out.
Drinking the whiskey out of the bottle. I love it. But see, that's the thing is like, even when you're talking about Natalie Portman's Queen Amidala, right?
Mm-hmm.
When she says, so this is how
Senator
democracy...
Padme.
Padme. When she says, so this is how democracy dies. It's like, oh, shit. That hit.
Yeah. So watching it now, having almost completed my entire political formal education,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, I'm going to just watch it objectively with my frame of reference. And I was very engaged in the entire thing. I get it.
Now,
then the second thing, coming at it from the politics that I have, especially when we're talking return, especially when we're talking just the allegory of the Vietnam War, the asymmetric warfare, and I have seen the George Lucas interview where he's talking about that. And yes, that's what I'm referencing, but it holds up. Like it really is.
It does.
Okay. No, like not only coming at it from an objective political sense, like watching it like a political drama, there's that respect, but then also coming at it from, I love history. Like genuinely, absolutely love history, and I think that's a core part of how I came to my ideology, my ideological standpoint. It's there, like it is there.
Right. Now,
and I love the Ewoks.
We
I
can't
fucking hate the Ewoks. Our generation, Gen X, hated the Ewoks.
The Ewoks are horrible, and I will fight anyone.
I hated them, and everyone I knew fucking hated them. They were the Jar Jar to the originals.
They were our generation's Jar Jar, but
they're adorable, and I will take no hate.
they were adorable. There's nothing you can compare to tickling the taint of an Ewok, and the little grin that they get. But,
a little buck tooth.
But the idea behind it, which is a primitive race fighting a technologically advanced enemy.
Yeah, it's the asymmetric warfare. It's the allegory of asymmetric warfare that comes directly out of the Vietnam War, with the Viet Cong using asymmetric warfare against the Empire, which was America.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now,
as I like to call the Ewoks, the midget Wookiees.
Yeah, that's what they're.
Yeah.
But let us also not ignore that Donald Trump released, or the White House, I should say, released an AI image of Donald Trump with a red lightsaber.
Yes, I saw that.
Claimed the Empire status.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
He declared that they are the rebellion and the lefties are the empire.
See, and that's
holding a red sword.
I thought he ended it with saying. I thought he ended it with saying the Empire is here, and that was interpreted as referencing that he is the Empire.
No. He said, we are the rebellion. You are the Empire.
Well, but someone should have told him or anyone else involved that, hey, maybe we should change the color of that lightsaber.
Yeah, talk about not getting your shit right ahead of time. You can't play a geek. I mean, that's the fact. You cannot pretend to be a geek when you're not a geek on anything. I don't care what it is. So, all right.
But besides that, before we get into even deeper Star Wars, May the 4th, I also want to say May is also Stroke Awareness Month. And I say this because someone that I went to school with, a classmate, she had a stroke 2 months ago. And she's recovering. She's strong. Shout out to you. I won't mention names just in case, but you're in our thoughts. Stay strong.
Absolutely.
You got pickle power behind you, baby. Pickle power is wrapped around you.
May the pickle be with you.
May the pickle be with you. All right, I got a question. I got a Star Wars question.
All right.
And I'm curious.
Hit me with your Star Wars question.
I'm curious if you, I'm sure, Kiefer, I'm sure you probably know this, but Colton, you may not. Through the entire Star Wars movies, all 6 of them, well, more actually, but mainly I
think we're up to like 11 now, but yeah.
But let's just look at the prequels and
the
originals. All right.
Yep.
Who's telling the story? Who's the narrator of that story?
My answer is there is no narrator.
Wrong.
I look at it as it is the audience is
a passive observer.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
If I had to like pick one, I think generally speaking I'm with Kiefer, but if I had to say that someone is a narrator, I think it's Anakin.
It's R2-D2.
I was actually about to say that.
R2-D2 because is the one that is.
I was actually going
to
to suggest that the square robot with the funny legs is the narrator.
No, it's R2-D2. He is in the opening scene of A New Hope, and he drives that entire movie and then continues to drive the next two movies and then is brought back and drives those movies. So it's R2-D2 is the hero of the story that he is telling.
I like that.
Yeah, I did too. When I heard it, I think it was a George Lucas interview where he said, well, no, this is all being kind of told with R2-D2 being the narrator through it. And I could be wrong on that. Okay. I know there's a lot of Star Wars guys out there that are far geekier on this shit than I am, but I remember watching something about that, and I remember being absolutely blown away by that because it made so much sense, and it went to...
If that's the case, it is hysterical, but to me, if there is a narrator at all, it makes more sense for it to be Anakin.
Well, no, because he is the tragic hero.
Yeah,
you know?
So to me, that's why he's the narrator, because he's looking at his story objectively and looking at his son's story hopefully.
Well, what ends up happening is essentially in the first three, 77 to 84 or whatever it was, those movies, it was very much the reluctant hero.
Right.
But with Anakin, then Vader, it became the tragic hero.
Right, but what I find interesting is that Anakin is, even though he falls to the dark side, he redeems himself and maintains his status as the chosen one.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the brilliance of the storytelling.
Luke is not the chosen one.
No, and really in overall lore, almost becomes irrelevant. Aside from the fact that he's the one that defeats his own father.
But he doesn't kill him.
No, he brings him back to the light. So that's his that's his hero's journey. His hero's journey is very, very specific, whereas Anakin's is very much
Luke is redemption, and Anakin is
a tragic hero.
Tragedy.
You know what I mean? Hero. So I love that.
I want to point out the whole linear idea of Anakin being born of the Force. You could direct a parallel to
Christ narrative,
Abrahamic mythology of Jesus. Which, have you, Steve, watched Ted the series?
No, I haven't yet. I want to. I hear it is amazing.
It is even better than the movies.
Wait, like the Seth MacFarlane Ted?
Yes. The series, I have watched it 3 times. It is that damn funny.
I think Seth MacFarlane is a fucking genius, though.
There's a
scene
is
very funny
where they're in church Christmas Eve, and Aunt Sue, the mother of Ted, has a solo in the choir, and the pastor is talking about how this day a son was born. Never before did someone was born, came to life. And Ted is like, pops up with, actually, me. Right here. And the pastor's like, yes, but he had a message of love. Ted hits his chest. I love you. Your move. It's just hysterical.
On Seth MacFarlane, though, I will take no conversation, no argument. American Dad is funnier than Family Guy.
I disagree, but it's going to be a subjectivity.
Well, let me put it to you this way. I have found I have laughed harder at times to American Dad.
Really?
At times. And I think it's a very well done show.
I just think it sets up jokes better because it's not always just, oh, remember the time when we, and then cut away.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I know that that show gets shit from everyone, including Matt Stone and Trey Parker. The Simpsons rip them for that, but I don't mind it. I really don't. I find it entertaining. So maybe I'm just simplistic in my cartoon evaluation.
Also, another unpopular opinion, I don't find South Park to be all that funny.
Oh, I do.
I found South Park funny.
Fuck yeah, I do.
I will give the edge to Family Guy every day because they spoofed Star Wars.
Yeah, that was a brilliant.
Called Blue Harvest.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair.
That was a brilliant.
Which, for the rest of this podcast, you may refer to me as Carlos Spicy Wiener.
we could. We won't.
for those who are familiar with the Family Guy
Blue
Star
Harvest.
Wars. What's that?
Blue Harvest.
Yeah, Blue Harvest. They'll get that right.
Yeah. Well, I think that right now, unfortunately, turning the conversation to the reality in the world that we live in, there are very, very many similarities in the last...
Wait. You can't run away from this. We are going to discuss Solo.
Ah, Solo. The most underrated...
has an opinion.
Yeah.
That's right.
The most underrated Star Wars film ever.
Yes.
Fuck, I'm telling you, that pissed me off that did so poorly and people jumped all over it and all that because A, it was a very fun and entertaining movie, and B, because of the box office it did, we didn't get the Obi-Wan movie, which almost...
But we did get the Obi-Wan series.
I think worked out better. I think it worked out better because we got the series, and quite frankly, the final battle the final episode between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader is one of the most amazing pieces of fucking Star Wars film or television. I haven't
seen it yet. I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen Obi-Wan? Oh my God, dude. I'm telling you.
I just started watching it on Saturday.
Holy shit.
I want to go on record right now and say
it's the best.
Frank Oz. Thank you, Frank Oz, for repeatedly calling Hayden Christensen at his farm
as Yoda
of Yoda and taunting him and
return you must.
Yeah, he Frank Oz pestered Hayden Christensen because Hayden was like,
he got a ton of hate for.
He got a ton of hate for Anakin. He's like, you know what? Fuck this. I got enough money. I'm just going to go have a farm. And that's what he's been doing for 15 years or some shit like that. Like he hasn't been acting.
20 years.
Again, to be fair, his acting in Attack of the Clones, not great. In Revenge, not much better, but better.
Well, you got to look at it. You got to look at it.
Character.
The idea, he came off as awkward, correct?
I understand the character.
Well, and that's the thing I was just going to say. Who better to become the darkest fucking Sith ever, Darth Vader, the baddest of bad guys ever, than a fucking emo teenager who's being raised by this guy as basically his older brother.
Yeah, the would-be incel if it weren't for Padme.
Yes.
Grooming him from 9 years old.
9. 9. If that even.
I have thought of nothing since you kissed me when I was a child.
Yeah, that whole transition was a bit creepy because she was still basically looking the same as she did originally in the first one in Phantom Menace.
Yeah, he went from 9 to 17. I don't think he was 9. She was pregnant.
Was he 9 in that?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't think it was even that. I thought he was supposed to be 7 or 8. Anyway, point being,
doesn't matter.
Point being, one of the best.
Somebody checked the age of consent on Tatooine.
Do they have Romeo and Juliet laws there?
Yeah, exactly. But yes, Solo.
But in Solo, I will say, forgive me, I don't remember the name of the dude that plays Han in it, but it always struck me that it's him playing Bill Hader who's playing Harrison Ford.
See, I would love to see Bill Hader as Han Solo.
Yeah, he should have been Han Solo.
But also, massive props. I haven't seen it yet, so I haven't seen it yet, but I am aware that Childish Gambino got cast as Lando Calrissian.
Yes.
And Childish Gambino is like a god at everything that he does.
Oh, he killed.
Oh, have you seen the TV show Community?
I've seen a couple episodes. I have not seen all of it, but he's hysterical.
Yeah, it's a great show.
He's hysterical. If anyone has not heard Awaken My Love, his album. One of my favorite albums that I have a physical copy of.
And there you have
Genuinely,
it.
I know nothing of his music.
Genuinely one of my favorite albums that I have a physical copy of. It's heavily inspired by like Maggot Brain and Funkadelic.
Well, it's hard to go wrong with those influences. I mean, let's face facts. Yeah. Those are fucking amazing albums.
Such a good album.
All right. So enough of Star Wars except for this. Am I correct that the last movie...
You're wrong.
I'm drawing a blank on it.
What's that?
The Last
Jedi?
The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Were there not overtones of authoritarian... And this is before Trump, right? But that
one came out during first term.
Yeah,
Did
I
it?
believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
But were there not very, very direct authoritarian implications with that one?
I mean, that's through all of it.
No. But that one particular character that was leading, like he had the
Stashyless Hitler.
Yes, the one that had all the troops lined up and all that shit, right? And the reason I bring this up is because Trump's 79th birthday is coming up. And what does he want to do? He wants to...
Hopefully he doesn't make it.
Piggyback... he wants to piggyback his birthday party onto the dime of the American taxpayer. And how does he want to do that? Well, he wants to have a military parade celebrating the Army's 250th anniversary. All right, great. Army, 250 years in the making. 1 year more than the country. Fantastic. There should be some sort of celebration. Coincidentally, it lands on Trump's 79th birthday. Here's my problem with it. It would make sense to have a big military bash because it's very expensive. It would make sense to have a big military parade type bash.
About $92 million, which is about how much he's cutting with NPR and PBS.
Well, hold on. That's not exactly an accurate number. I would agree with him having this on January or July 4th. Fuck. I would agree with him having this on July 4th, 2026 and spending that kind of money. I wouldn't have a problem with that because 250 years for our country, that's something to be celebrated. I still have a
problem with the optics of a military parade in what's supposed to be the freest country in the world.
I agree with you on that, but I could understand it and I could let it go under that circumstance that it's about all of America. It's about all of these things. And and you would have military things involved in that parade, but it wouldn't just be military. This is just going to be military. Okay.
My brain goes like this. The Army is celebrating 250 years. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Let me know when you get to 500, because the Swiss military has been around for 734 years.
Yeah, but they got that knife.
The very same from the knife?
Yeah, I mean, like, who was going to beat them back in the day when they had that knife? All right, so...
nobody.
Who else was walking around with a goddamn corkscrew?
No one.
Exactly.
Who? No one. All right.
What's wrong? You got to trim your cuticle?
I got you. All right. So...
You need a knife that'll go blunt? You need a knife that'll go blunt in two cuts? Here
Jesus Christ, this is my circus, you're my monkeys, and motherfucker, you guys are off the tracks.
Yeah, well, fuck your news. Nobody cares because it's Star Wars.
Oh, shit. Okay, so June 14th, 2025 coincides with his 79th birthday and the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. The proposed events...
I just want to see him.
Includes...
It has nothing to do with my birthday.
6,600 troops, 150 military vehicles, including tanks, 50 helicopters, seven army bands, a parachute display by the Golden Knights, and a fireworks show. The exact cost has not been disclosed yet. Estimates right now are right around $45 million, though when he tried to do this back in his first term, estimates were projected at $92 million.
Okay, so that's where I got my number.
Now, here's my problem with this, okay? This is exactly my problem. It makes sense to do this on the anniversary of the country's 250th birthday. That makes sense to me. But more importantly, you cannot have a military parade like that down the streets of Washington, D.C., or wherever they hold it, and not fuck up all of the streets with the tanks and the military vehicles.
We're going to have
so it's going to destroy
24-karat gold tank that rolls down with a toilet on top.
Yeah. They don't make paint that looks like real gold.
But we're going to try. We're going to try. The problem I have is the fact that this is going to actually destroy infrastructure. And where this is...
Are already crumbling infrastructure.
But where this finds a little bit of humor to me is how much you want to bet he's going to use Biden's infrastructure plan to fix the streets that he fucks up with his little birthday parade.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, just like Trump said in that train wreck of an interview, all of the good parts of the economy are Trump. All of the bad parts of the economy are Biden.
And I'm not quite sure if I have to follow or enforce or protect the Constitution.
I will ask my lawyers.
And they will tell me what I want to hear because they know I don't listen otherwise. Anyway, all right. So now this is my question. And then we'll get to the news.
Really quick. Anybody else see back when he was in court? And when he was asked if he was going to take the stand, he said, I don't think I can because I'm under a gag order. And he turned to his lawyer and was like, am I right about that? And the lawyer was like,
maybe. Sure.
Like, I don't want to tell him no that he's an idiot.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to make a face.
All right. So here's my question. I'm going to preface it with a statement. All right. When Harris was in office, and this is getting back to the baby credits show that we did. When Harris was running, she wanted to offer $6,000 in tax credits to families that had babies.
A pittance, but yeah.
A pittance, sure. And she was called a socialist. Trump offers $5,000 and is called a genius. Now, here's my question. With this kind of stupidity, whether it's the parades, his lack of knowledge of whether or not the most important office in the fucking free world is meant first and foremost to follow and enforce and protect the Constitution, and goddamn everything else that he's done since getting reelected and before. Will Trump finish his first term? Do you guys think he'll be able to finish his first, or his second term?
I think he makes it through as long as the McDonald's doesn't get to him first.
I think I am going to adopt 14 to 15 Ewoks to get that tax credit.
Revenge of the Big Mac.
Revenge of the Big Mac and Return of the Ewok. I don't know. This has actually been a question that's on my mind a lot lately. Like,
if Republicans lose in 2026, which I really hope they do,
I
do too. I don't have faith in them, and I don't have faith that the Republicans in power are going to run a fair election.
But you would probably know the answer to this question. I don't, because I haven't focused on it yet. I'm not looking at 2026, the midterms, quite yet, really digging in. But, even if the Dems sweep,
there's enough that I forget if it's the House or the Senate, but there's enough on the table that if the Dems sweep, they'll get one, and they could basically tie the other. I forget which is which.
I think they can get one in the Senate. Or tie the Senate, was it?
I think it's tie the Senate.
And
if I'm not mistaken,
and they're only
I could be wrong.
Maybe plus one or two. They're only going to be plus one or two when it comes to the House, right?
Yeah. So
that's what I'm saying is,
even if they went for impeachment, they wouldn't have the votes to do it.
No matter what we're talking, House or Senate,
they don't have the votes. Even if they absolutely shit House Republicans in 2026.
So I don't see any way that he does not finish his second term unless a couple of things happen. One,
Revenge of the Big Mac, baby.
Yeah, that could happen. He could have a heart attack, cholesterol, whatever. And I'm not saying that we wish it on him. FBI, we didn't say that.
Hey, if the Big Mac gets him, it wasn't me.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's kind of on him.
If the Big Mac gets him, it wasn't fucking me.
The problem is that his favorite is the fish sandwich, of course. So that's not going to happen. impeachment's probably not going to happen unless he goes so far off the rails that Republicans come to the Democrats looking for help getting rid of him.
Which is possible, but I don't think that that's likely to happen because this is, on this particular topic, my favorite piece of analysis right now. He's essentially a doddering, old, dying grandpa. And all of the Republicans are just trying to suck up and get into the will.
Yeah, and that's my view on it, too. So,
and it doesn't matter any level of Republican, they're all trying to suck up and get into the will so that they can salvage some part of, what Trump has built for themselves.
What do each of you think is a step too far where, forget Republican or Democrat, the people make it clear to Congress, do something about this or we're coming for you?
I think we're already seeing some of that, especially with these hands-off protests. I think what's really going to do it is when Trump pushes us into a second Great Depression, because we're already headed down that path. And depending on how he's feeling about these tariffs, which obviously how he's feeling about anything changes minute by minute.
Minute by minute, yeah, second by second.
It changes. It literally changes depending on who he just spoke to and who he's currently speaking to.
Well, and that's the thing is I do think that this tariff issue could potentially be a step too far even for MAGA once the repercussions hit.
If and when he sends us into a second Great Depression, I think that would be a step too far for the constituency. I don't think that their ideology would change.
No, I don't. Well, you got to remember, they honestly think, if we get rid of brown people and bring back jobs that no one wants to do for wage that no one will work for, life will be great. I do believe that they think that that's the case. I get it. I get it. It's a simplistic view, but
genuinely the way that I see this going is you're going to end up with 2 or 3 different factions when Trump is gone. However he ends up being gone, whether that's by dying or by political exile or, pick your poison as far as how
even just serving his term out.
Yeah. And not being a dictator and going for a third. I see a fracturing of MAGA into different factions of MAGA. Well, I see a Warhawk faction of MAGA,
which
probably headed by either.
Let's be honest. That's just far right neocon.
Yes. Well, yeah. So I see a Warhawk faction headed by either Don Jr. or Stephen Miller. I think J.D. Vance might have a small following, but I think he lacks too much personality to actually have a sizable following.
Well, that question was asked of Trump as far as who his successor would be.
Yeah, and in one interview he said it's not going to be JD, and then in this last interview he said I like JD.
Yeah, but he's leaning more Marco, which I thought was interesting.
It could be Marco Rubio. He's a pretty hawkish neocon. He just also happens to be competent, so that's a dangerous mix.
Yeah, I mean you can say a lot of things about, and this is what gets me is that when people can't recognize competency in the opponent, you know what I mean? I had a conversation today with somebody who was with a friend of the show, Kirk Nolan. He was telling me about an argument that came out of our last episode between him and his wife regarding trans, because she has a trans child. And he was kind of asking me, well, what's your thoughts on this, blah, blah, blah. And long story short, it boils down to most people cannot give credit where credit's due if it goes against their belief system. And they cannot recognize or accept that they might be wrong or whatever. But, I mean, you can say a lot of things. I don't have to agree with Marco Rubio's politics.
I mean, all of us are varying degrees of far left. And I think all of us would agree that Marco Rubio is a competent administrator.
Yeah,
he just happens to also be a fascist.
Well, I don't even think, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think that Rubio, in his purest form, I do not think Rubio is a fascist at all. I think he's doing what he feels he needs to do, and I honestly think that he's doing it not because he agrees with any of this bullshit even.
I don't think he's a fascist. I think he's a Christian nationalist.
I think he's I would
to
agree.
Me, there's no distinction there aside from the Christian element of it.
Well, I mean,
to me, there's genuinely no distinction aside from
we could split hairs on that. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that
the Christ part is silent.
I think, I think that with Rubio, if left to his own devices, would not be showing any of these things that are very Trumpian or giving them any breathing room. I think
he's only kind of doing it because he's in the administration.
And I think he's only in the administration, or accepted that role in the administration, because he's trying to be a guardrail. I really do believe that he sees the danger in Trump without a guardrail at all. And I think that he believes that he's, at least by participating and being there, he at least is giving pushback when it's most needed.
Let me justify my claim that Marco Rubio is a fascist. So if we're looking at Umberto Eco's 14 points, Umberto Eco very clearly explains fascism does not need all of these elements. It doesn't need all 14 to be considered fascist. One country could be fascist and have elements A, B, and C, and another country might not be fascist and have elements B, C, and D, right? So with Trump, I think you see examples and a pattern of all 14 points. Perfectly honest, I think you see an example at bare minimum, if not a pattern of behavior of all 14 points. The one point that I think Marco Rubio distinguishes himself from Trump on is action for action's sake. So I am of the opinion that Trump is a man of action. He is do first, think later. He is do first, justify later. I think Marco Rubio is more of a bureaucratic fascist in the sense of, I'm going to go through the process to get my desired outcome.
I would agree.
That's my action.
No, I would agree with you. And I think Trump gets away with that because, let's face it, he's been called a lot of names. He's been called a con man. He's been called, a liar. He's been named 1,000 names. He's been called a clown, stupid, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But really, at the end of it, what he is more than anything is a phenomenal salesman. That's it. I don't know if he even believes half the shit that he says. But
at this point, I think he does. Straight up, at this point, I think he does. First administration with Trump, I think he knew he was lying.
Oh, totally. I mean,
at this point, he's so brain broken. I genuinely am not sure he's capable of lying. I think he believes what he's saying.
Well, if that's the case, the first
wrong.
Look, if you're right, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but if you're right, and he were to sit down with a therapist, I think the very first question the therapist would ask is, okay, when exactly did you realize you were eating your own shit?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because that's really what it boils down to at this point is, if you're going to spew that shit and you're going to believe it, well, you're going to gobble that shit right back up, right? And again, this gets to kind of a sales tactic that he is really brilliant at. He's great at branding. You cannot just sit there and look at him as if he is stupid. He is not stupid. It's just he is smart,
just not in the way that
we want. Not in the way he's smart, but not in the way we want or need as a leader of the country. All right, let's move on. Kiefer, do you have any news, or do we jump to the question that you posed to me that has been burning my brain?
Well, if I may, I just have a brief news story to kick us off.
Oh, yes. You know what? Hold that thought for just 1 second. All right, Colton, before we go to your story, there is one more Trump meme that I need to bring up. And I need to bring this up because even as an atheist, I saw this meme and I went, oh, shit, that's fucked up. they had a meme going around with Trump as the Pope. Now, look, I get it. This fucking administration loves to troll people. I get that. Okay. However, you're talking about the fucking Pope.
The Mexicans worship me.
It would be Pope Pontius through my finger.
I just couldn't believe that they put that out. So I wanted to bring that up.
Donald the First.
Yeah, it would be Donald the First. All right. You had a story about what's going on with India and Pakistan. I think it's an important story. This is one that's going to blow up, I think. And I mean that both figuratively and literally.
Yeah, we have a third theater of World War III. It's a lot of threes, a lot of TH sounds, but it is true. India has.
They only had a little more THC.
Yeah, honestly. India has plenty.
Yeah.
India has plenty.
And Pakistan has the opium, doesn't it? Isn't it Pakistan?
It's more Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
Yes.
Afghanistan, sorry.
But yeah, so
it's I knew it was one of the stands.
Really quick, all I can ever think about when I hear Afghanistan is Super Troopers. Anyone else see that movie, Super Troopers?
Yeah, years ago.
Oh my God. It is so... I am so disappointed in both of you.
Well, I saw it years ago. I just don't remember it.
Super Troopers, absolutely hysterical, but they're talking about animation. And one of the guys was like, oh, this is Japanimation? And they're like, no, it's a cheaper knockoff. It's from Afghanistan. It's Afghanistan-mation. It's just so beautiful.
But yes, breaking news. We have a new theater of World War III, and it is India-Pakistan, because India initiated a bombing run, I believe, on 9 locations in Pakistan. And China has said, we're not getting involved militarily, but we side with Pakistan. And that is literally just because China wants control over Kashmir instead of both of them.
Well, how does Led Zeppelin feel about that?
Not great.
Yeah. I mean, considering Robert Plant got dysentery in Kashmir, I can't imagine he has positive feelings.
You blow out your brown ring, yeah.
Yeah.
A little washer. His washer was hurting.
So that's our third theater. The first two obviously being Russia,
Even my
Ukraine.
hemorrhoids are spicy.
We got the Russian Ukraine theater, the European theater. We have the Levantine theater, and we have the Hindustan theater.
That's a lot of theaters.
Yep. And before you know it, there will be a fourth. It'll be the North American theater, because Trump really wants Greenland and Canada and Mexico and Panama.
I think he's entertained by Mexico's president.
He respects Claudia Sheinbaum.
Yeah.
But he does not respect Mexican sovereignty.
No, but I think he gets a kick out of her.
My first news story is Trump blasts Mexico's Sheinbaum for rejecting offer to send U.S. troops into Mexico to fight cartels.
Because why wouldn't you want us to clean up your mess? We're going to just clean up the things that are the problems. We love taking care of you. We just want
Every country, aside from the United States, is a third world country.
It's ridiculous. I mean...
And what do you do when you're a superpower and you have a third world country to your south? You bomb them.
She's a lovely woman. The president of Mexico is a lovely woman, but she is so afraid of the cartels that she can't even think straight.
Yeah, I mean,
she can't even walk.
That's I grabbed her by the fajitas.
He literally said,
I grabbed her by the fajitas.
I squeezed them and got elotes.
Oh my God. I showed her my chilito. All right. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, Trump he's putting us in a position where at some point somebody's going to call his bluff. And I don't think he's going to like when that happens. Now,
it's going to be Mark Carney.
I do too, actually. I think Carney is the one who's like, no. You broke up with us. We didn't break up with you.
Elbows up.
Yeah. And I think Carney is going to be the one that is not afraid to put tanks on the border. I think Carney's going to be the one that's not afraid to stand up and go, you know what? We like the way you guys used to be.
I'll remind
today?
everyone, Michigan used to be French Canada.
Yeah, in many ways, yeah.
Did you see the meeting today?
No.
Oh, yeah. Mark Carney was at the White House.
Yeah, Trump was like, Mark Carney was like, yeah, no, Canada is not for sale. And Trump said, well, never say never.
Yeah. So I think that, getting back to that question of what could be the end of Trump, I think if it's not the tariffs, and I got to be honest with you, I kind of think it's going to be the tariffs.
I do too. I think
it's good.
The only way to get through to an American is to hurt their pocketbook.
Well, here's the thing.
I think it's going to be Melania stabbing him in the fucking face during the night.
She hasn't done it yet. Honestly, I don't think so. I think she's as evil as he is, to be perfectly honest with you. I think she's a fucking vile.
Well, no one just goes along with this for this long without having personal interest in it.
I think, all these, you see all on like X.
I think she's the one running the meme coin, quite honestly. I don't think Trump has anything to do with it. I think it's Melania that's running the meme coin.
That could be.
He's angry about the no more anchor babies.
Well, here's the thing is like, everyone on Twix will tell you, oh, she's the best first lady that's ever existed. She's the most beautiful first lady that's ever existed. The most elegant first lady that's ever existed. But
first of all, she's half plastic. Second of all, she did nothing in the first term like most first ladies do. And third of all, she hasn't done anything yet this term.
I think she's an evil cunt. And we'll just let that sit there. I do. I think that you cannot possibly deal with the shit that is consistently and constantly being thrown at Trump without honestly thinking that he's right and the world is wrong. Like,
but
I think that there's a little bit of like evil vindictiveness from her based on where she came from.
I raise you one Biden term in the sense of during Biden's term, Trump and Melania basically didn't live together. Like they didn't speak with each other. Like they haven't done aside from legally, they were divorced.
Yeah, that's been the case for a long time, though. I mean, like even when after she got barren, she went barren. Okay, there's nothing between them.
I'm not in this for micro meat.
No, she does everything. Like everything comes at a cost. If you want her to show up at something, Trump has got to write a fucking check to get her there. I'm sure of that. And I'm sure it's coming out of a political action committee fucking fund or some shit, but she's not doing shit for free. That's a fact. I think she sees this as her cash cow, and I think she's willing to ride that cow to the fucking end of the cliff. And then she'll jump off and push the cow over. But I don't think that she's as nice or as kind or as anything that anyone thinks she is. And I definitely don't think she's as beautiful as people think she is. I think she looks like a fucking snake. But that's just my take on it.
I have never been a fan of the plastic look.
Me either. All right. So, Kiefer, you posed a question to me yesterday that I thought was interesting, and we're going to get to it now. I'm going to let you pose the question. But this fucking thing has been rattling through my head because I was able to pretty quickly come up with two, right?
But a third one.
The third, I don't know that and it's not because I have a lack of choices. I have a lot of choices, but you limited it to three. But go ahead, pose the question.
I asked you, and I, in proxy asked Colton, what would be 2 or 3 podcast guests that you would love to have alive or dead?
Well, they're always going to be they're always going to be more fun alive than they are dead, but all of mine are dead. All right.
Well,
what was your? What'd you say?
I think you're correct, but my number one would be George Carlin.
He was on my list, and I actually took him off my list because I was desperately hoping that one of you would put him on your list.
Yeah, for me, George Carlin.
Good choice.
Let's see. Che Guevara would be a very interesting, assuming he spoke English, which I think he did, but he would be a very, very interesting person to speak with just because he's such a complex person, such a ideologically motivated person, yeah, I think Che Guevara would be a very interesting podcast guest.
Okay, so we've got Carlin, Che Guevara.
You have a third.
Do you need a minute?
Yeah, you go ahead. I'm gonna think on my third.
You go ahead, Steve.
All right. My first one, Christopher Hitchens.
Ooh, yeah.
I would love to
He was my alternate.
Yeah, I would love to have a really, really in-depth, put the bottle of whiskey between us conversation. I would love to really, really get into a deep and dark conversation with him.
That would be a 5-hour episode.
It would be amazing. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It would be fucking amazing. Second, Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, yes.
Of all the celebrities that have ever died in my life, he's the only one.
That's the most devastating.
That was the one that really bothered me. And still bothers me. I didn't know this motherfucker. I just enjoyed what he did.
Every so often, I still tell Ashley, man, it's so sad that he left. I have my third.
All right.
Robin Williams.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Interesting.
It's interesting you went with 2 comedians and 1 revolutionary.
Yeah. Well, what are comedians but revolutionaries?
I would say the same. And in fact, that's actually something that I've been toying with as an idea for an episode. So we will discuss that as possibly another episode. All right. Now, here's where I run into trouble. All right. One of these choices, I'm amazed at the talent. I'm amazed at the mind.
I have a guess.
I'm amazed at the way he was able to put everything out there. Okay. Mm-hmm. The other one, and that one was, he was an artist.
Can I make my guess before you announce?
Sure. Go ahead.
Richard Pryor.
Nope.
Okay. Fair enough.
And I was going to say Bill Hicks.
Nope. I would love to have conversations with both of them. I really would. Those are 2 of my favorite comedians of all time. Lenny Bruce,
the best comedians of all time.
As far as comedians go, I could just go down the list. But as a comedian, I thought, you know what? I'm not going to pick a comedian. I'm going to pick people that outside of stand-up fascinate me. Leonardo da Vinci.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, here's why
I did my list.
Here's why I didn't pick him. He didn't change my life. No, he didn't. Da Vinci didn't change my life. He opened my mind to many, many things, but he didn't change my life. So my third choice is an author who is also dead, Peter McWilliams, author of Ain't Nobody's Business If You Do.
Mm-hmm.
This was an author with that book. At the time I read it in my life, I was in between 20 and 22 years old. I don't remember exactly. I discovered this book on a bookshelf, almost as if the light came around it. Yeah, the music, the angels were singing. You have to read this book. And it's a very large. Actually, I have it right here. It is, let's see here.
I will point out there are 2 copies of that book at the Brewer household.
Yeah, because I'm afraid that one will get damaged. So I have my original copy. I have my original copy, which is damaged to a degree and earmarked and highlighted and, you name it. But you're talking a book that is about 800 pages long. And at that time, much like you, Colton, prior to picking up this particular book, I was not what you would call a voracious reader. I did not get it until I read this book. And then this book not only made me a reader, but a reader of such intent and purpose that I probably bought in my lifetime. From within the 2 years after I read this, I probably bought in those 2 years and read in those 2 years. I would say probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 300 books. So it changed my life and my perspective on reading. But more importantly, everything that's in this book answered all the questions that I was looking for answers for. You know, not only as
to be fair, I read that book before I really got into reading. I don't know if you remember. I took that book up to college with me, and I don't think I finished it, but I read almost all of it before I really
it changes you.
In. Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, but for me, it changed me. And it changed me in this sense. It made me realize that a lot of the things that I disagreed with on, whether it was with my parents, whether it was with society, or whether it was with, just people in general and views and laws and optics of things, it made me realize you need to step back for a second and ask yourself, does this affect you personally? Is this going to change something in your life personally? No? Well, then what the fuck do you care? What the fuck do you care? And this gets back to that trans episode.
Yeah.
Part of my philosophy goes back 30 plus years now after reading this book, because it was literally one of those books where I went, oh God, I don't have to give a fuck about that.
Right. Well, you got to keep in mind, for me at least, with ain't nobody's business if you do. I was raised with that philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that book was not groundbreaking in the way that it was for you.
No, I
because
I get that.
I was already of that opinion. I was raised of that opinion.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying, though, is that book affected me as a person.
Mm-hmm.
It affected me how I related with other people. It affected me in my relationships, not just friendships, but romantically.
It informed how you raised your son.
It informed my choices as a father, for fuck's sake. This was a seminal piece of writing for me. So the opportunity to have a conversation with Peter McWilliams, and even if that conversation was only to say thank you, that would be enough for me. And that's why he beat out Leonardo da Vinci.
That's fair. Kiefer, who are your three? I think you said Richard Pryor was one of yours, or was it Bill Hicks?
No, I was guessing for Steve.
Oh, gotcha.
My three. I've got a list of 5 that I had.
Oh, you motherfucker.
2. Oh, I've got a huge list.
That's my thing, too, is I got a huge list, but I was trying to keep it to 3, and I pushed it to 4.
I easily eliminated 2 because y'all had said 2 of them.
All right, so one was
Leonardo and Christopher Hitchens.
Well,
so
I said Hitchens,
yeah,
but Leonardo was replaced by McWilliams, so technically you got to take him.
No,
sorry, motherfucker.
So my 3, right off the bat, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I like to have guests that I can learn from, and certainly feel stupid.
I respect that.
He would explain.
Yeah, I
respect that.
Yeah, I gotcha.
He's a great communicator.
He can explain very large topics in a digestible manner.
Yes.
I definitely respect that.
I love Neil deGrasse Tyson. If I could, I would vote for him for president.
I'm not a huge...
Make America smart
I don't
again.
dislike him, but I'm not
Science Obama.
I'm not a... Yeah, he is Science Obama. I don't dislike him, okay? But I'm not a huge fan. I think
I love him. I love him.
Huge fan.
I would rather, if given the choice between him and Michio Kaku, is that right?
No, Michio Kaku.
Kaku. All right. That's the one
Which
I would
he
take.
almost made the list.
I would choose him over Neil deGrasse Tyson. I really enjoy how he explains things.
That's the Asian Science Obama, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, Lordy. All right,
we're lucky no one listens to this show, because otherwise we would be canceled everywhere.
Well, you know what, though? We don't fucking care.
Yeah. Let's go.
I care a little. I told my boss about the show.
You're so screwed. My second choice, Mark Twain.
Oh,
okay.
Samuel Clemens.
Yeah, that's a good one.
For his wit, his sarcasm, and his ability to tell you a story.
And he's got a great award.
His observations, I would love to spend a day just picking his brain.
Yeah.
I haven't read it yet, but have either of you read James by, I believe it's Percival Everett?
No.
So that's one that is on my to buy and read list. Essentially, James by Percival Everett is a reimagining of is it Tom Sawyer? No, it's Huck Finn. It's a reimagining in the sense that it's Huck Finn told from the perspective of Jim, the slave.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'd be interesting. All right, so if we had to agree on 2, so we've got you with Colton with, what were yours again? Carlin,
Robin Williams, Che Guevara.
Okay. Me, it was Bourdain, Peter McWilliams, and Hitchens.
I think Bourdain and Hitchens take it, quite honestly. I think you're right on that.
The last one.
Now,
someone that.
Hold on.
Okay.
Can you imagine the conversation with both of them at the same time?
Oh, yeah.
It would have to be a smoky bar, a great big bottle or 2 of either.
It would be a bottle each. Let's be real here.
Yeah, it would be. It would be Scotch, probably. For me, it would be Irish whiskey, most likely, unless I had my Lagavulin 16. We're still waiting for you to call us to sponsor.
Or JMO.
Or Jameson. I already know Jameson won't sponsor, so I'm not even bringing them in. Laga, I'm looking at you. But just imagine how cool that conversation would be. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it would be the 3 of us and the 2 of them. And it would be nothing but cigarette smoke and fucking whiskey.
Yep.
And just some of the most intense, hardcore views. Oh, my God. If that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what would. All right.
My third. Mm-hmm. From a purely selfish point of view, I would love...
Dimebag Dave.
Brain.
What is it? All right.
You're never going to get.
No, I probably won't.
Peter Steele from Typo Negative?
No, I've met him. I've talked to him.
Oh, you have? Oh, my God.
Funny story. I actually was dating a girl who had his Playgirl issue, and she was too terrified of him to ask for him to sign it.
Well, I mean, he was a different species, so yeah.
I bravely asked him to sign it for her. And he looked at her, he looked at me and was like, "Here you go, buddy."
Yeah, because he knew that this was the equivalent in your relationship of buying tampons.
No, I just don't care. Again,
yeah, I know you don't. I don't care either.
I don't care if I buy tampons. Obviously, they're not for me.
Yeah, clearly.
Post show, I will need to know how you got in contact with Peter Steele.
Oh, it was at Harpo's.
Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah, you don't have to post show that shit. All right.
But my third choice, Nikola Tesla.
That was on my list too. That was
really?
Yeah, I took him off only because I don't think he'd be a great conversationalist.
No, I mean,
I think
you could ask questions. I don't know if he would have the sociability to have the conversation.
Yeah, and that's kind of the reason why I went with the choices that I went with. Now, I don't know if Peter McWilliams would be a great conversationalist, but I do know that his writing shows that he is very well versed in many, many topics that I'm interested in.
As long as it's not like the Zuck interview with Theo Vaughn.
I still had 2 names that I was trying to debate between for that third spot, such as Cleopatra.
She was on my list.
To pick her brain about politics at that time.
Yes, absolutely.
And Oscar Wilde.
You know what?
Oscar Wilde would be interesting.
I flirted with Wilde on my list. I
really?
did. Yeah, I really did. I flirted with the idea.
Oscar Wilde.
Well, you know, there's some things you don't know about your dad. I did flirt with the idea of Oscar Wilde because I think that he would be a great conversationalist. But that was really
very witty.
Yeah, everything was very witty with him and insightful and quotable. the reason why I didn't go with him is because I really thought about it from the point of view of put into this modern form of podcasting where it is absolutely dependent upon coherent and intriguing conversation. I didn't feel like pulling him out of time, he would probably be the best choice for that. Whereas with specifically Hitch and Bourdain, they were made for this.
I would throw a fourth in Walt Whitman, and a fifth Ernest Hemingway.
All right, so like if I had to throw the third in, like to me the ultimate conversation would be
Hitchens,
Bourdain, and Hicks.
Oh, okay. Yep.
That's a conversation I don't even want to be a part of. I just want to watch it.
Yeah.
The idea of this actually came from Star Trek.
Really?
Because, Data I think it was Data, might have been Picard. One of them would throw poker parties in the holodeck. And at the table was Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, Hawking, and Sigmund Freud.
Really?
And I was like, that is cool.
That is cool.
I want a holodeck just to be able to pull up
Sigmund Freud.
Like
Sigmund Freud is always so funny to me because I did major in psychology, even though I'm doing politics. And every class...
And politics and psychology go hand in hand, let's face it.
They do, absolutely. There's a heavy crossover. But what was always funny to me about my psychology classes is every first chapter of every book for every single class talked about Sigmund Freud and basically said, yeah, so he wanted to fuck his mom, and that was kind of weird. And also, like, no one believes what he was saying anymore. But I think if you kind of like remove the whole, like, okay, he had some weird beliefs, a cigar, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, like if you kind of strip it back a little, he was less of a psychologist and more of a philosopher.
I would agree with you there. Yeah, I would definitely agree with you there. And I think, though...
I just think it would be so much fun for me personally to sit at a poker table with Neil deGrasse Tyson, Nikola Tesla, and as a third in that genre, Sir Isaac Newton, and just listen to the three of them talk about science.
Yeah, that would be. You know what I mean? I can't deny it.
Introduce them to AI.
Yes, so this magic box has a brain.
Yeah. Well, now if we had to vote on three people,
I think Hitchens and Bourdain definitely take it.
Agreed, Keith?
I think that would be a very interesting conversation.
So who's the third?
I am not as big of a Bourdain fan.
I would like to believe that Che Guevara would also be an interesting addition to the conversation, but he might over politicize everything.
Well, that's exactly. So, I mean, we're talking about just an interesting conversation. Again, if I had to pull three,
Hitchens, Bourdain, and Hicks would be a great.
That would be. You just sit back and let it go.
And even if it wasn't Hicks, if it was Carlin, I think
same thing. You could let it go.
Yeah.
Prior.
If it wasn't Hitchens, if it wasn't Hicks and Carlin, if it was Pryor, or if it was Williams, not Mick Williams. I think having the comedic element in that conversation would make it.
Even if you went, even if you went with, what were some of the other choices that we had?
Tesla, Guevara, who else?
Tyson.
Mark Twain, Neil deGrasse
That'd be
Tyson.
Another great one. So if you had, I think that third seat has to be filled by a comedian. Mark Twain would fill that seat well, but I don't think it would be proper. I think
it would fill that seat in terms of wit, but not maybe necessarily in terms of comedic.
Right. So, like, I look at that and I go, I think
pretty funny.
He was very funny, but I don't think he was as quick on his feet as, like, Robin Williams. So, like, right out of the gate, the problem with having Williams as the third at that table is he's going to try to make everything the joke. He's going to want too much attention. And that's why I say, like, to me, Carlin, Pryor, or Hicks,
They would throw a joke where it was warranted, but not where it wasn't.
And
I think Carlin would be the intellect.
I think Carlin would be the choice, actually. For as much as I want to say Hicks, I really think that to make that conversation that 3-on-3 conversation, Colton, me, you, Kiefer, 3 people that we're having conversation with. I think if you had it with those 3, Carlin, Bourdain, and Hitch, I think that's one of the most fascinating conversations I could ever imagine. And with that, that's another Elsie's Little Pickles.